smile, barely perceptible, played on his lips, but his eyes remained meditative. Behind the door that led into the hall, under his buffalo skin driving coat, was a locked cupboard. This the doctor opened mechanically, kicking aside a pile of muddy overshoes. Inside, upon the shelves, were whiskey glasses and decanters, lemons, sugar, and bitters. Hearing a step in the empty, echoing hall without, the doctor closed the cupboard again, snapping the Yale lock. The door of the waiting room opened, a man entered, and came on into the consulting room. "Good evening, Mr. Kronberg," said the doctor, carelessly. "Sit down." His visitor was a tall, loosely built man, with a thin brown beard streaked with grey. He wore a frock coat, a broad-brimmed black hat, a white lawn necktie, and steel-rimmed spectacles. Altogether there was a pretentious and important air about him, as he lifted the skirts of his coat and sat down. "Good evening, Doctor. Can you step around to the house with me? I think Mrs. Kronberg will need you this evening." This was said with profound gravity, and, curiously enough, with a slight embarrassment. "Any hurry?" the doctor asked over his shoulder as he went into his operating room. Mr. Kronberg coughed behind his hand and contracted his brows. His face threatened at every moment to break into a smile of foolish excitement. He controlled it only by calling upon his habitual pulpit manner. "Well, I think it would be as well to go immediately. Mrs. Kronberg will be more comfortable if you are there. She has been suffering for some time." The doctor came back and threw a black bag upon his desk. He wrote some instructions for his man on a prescription pad, and then drew on his overcoat. "All ready," he announced, putting out his lamp. Mr. Kronberg rose, and they tramped through the empty hall and down the stairway to the street. The drugstore below was dark, and the saloon next door was just closing. Every other light on Main Street was out. On either side of the road and at the outer edge of the board sidewalk, the snow had been shoveled into breastworks. The town looked small and black, flattened down in the snow, muffled and all but extinguished. Overhead the stars shone gloriously. It was impossible not to notice them. The air was so clear that the white sandhills to the east of Moonstone gleamed softly. Following the Reverend Mr. Kronberg along the narrow walk, past the little dark sleeping houses, the doctor looked up at the flashing night and whistled softly. It did seem that people were stupider than they need be, as if on a night like this there ought to be something better to do than to sleep 9 hours, or to assist Mrs. Kronberg in functions which she could have performed so admirably unaided. He wished he had gone down to Denver to hear Faye Templeton sing Seesaw. Then he remembered that he had a personal interest in this family, after all. They turned into another street and saw before them lighted windows, a low story-and-a-half house, with a wing built on at the right and a kitchen addition at the back. Everything a little on the slant. Roofs, windows, and doors. As they approached the gate, Peter Kronberg's pace grew brisker. His nervous ministerial cough annoyed the doctor. Exactly as if he were going to give out a text, he thought. He drew off his glove and felt in his vest pocket. "Have a trochee, Kronberg," he said, producing some. "Sent me for samples. Very good for a rough throat." "Ah, thank you, thank you. I was in something of a hurry. I neglected to put on my overshoes. Here we are, Doctor." Kronberg opened his front door, seemed delighted to be at home again. The front hall was dark and cold. The hat rack was hung with an astonishing number of children's hats and caps and cloaks. They were even piled on the table beneath the hat rack. Under the table was a heap of rubbers and overshoes. While the doctor hung up his coat and hat, Peter Kronberg opened the door into the living room. A glare of light greeted them, and a rush of hot, stale air, smelling of warming flannels. At 3 o'clock